Hi, this is Sophie and welcome back to my channel. In this video I would like to show you how to do a pretty Oriental princess face painting design. You will see towards the middle of the video that I made a pretty big placement mistake, but I think it didn't turn out to be such a big deal in the end, but I will let you be the judge, so let's get started. So to begin with, I take some pink metallic face paint on the sponge and apply it over the eyelids, and before the color dries completely I put some pink glitter on my finger and apply it over this color. Just in case you're wondering, if you're using some cosmetic grade glitter made out of polyester, it is not dangerous to apply it that close to the eyes. I then decided to put a little bit of purple on the corner of the eyelids, but it would have been better to do this before applying the glitter. I will now place the jewels using the same pink face paint that I used on the eyelids. The first one is the biggest, which is placed right at the center, a little bit higher than the eyebrows, and I'm trying to do my circle as round as possible. It is then followed by two further circles, a little bit smaller and placed higher on the forehead, left and right of the bigger one. The idea was actually to put them both on the same level, but look at what I'm doing. I'm putting the second one much lower, and I realized this actually so much later that it was too late to change it. It happened because the camera was in front of the model and I was painting from the side, and I never noticed that it looked like this. So my suggestion obviously is not to do the same thing, but to put both of your small circles on the same level so that you don't end up with a design which is slightly off balance. But that's the way it is sometimes, I guess, right? So moving on, I'm also doing a little heart at the top of the cheek, still using the same brush and color. To give the jewel more dimension and a 3D effect, I will now add some shadows, and I chose the color purple, still using my round brush number 3. The important thing to remember with shadows is to place them always in the same position within each shape. In my case, I'm always putting them at the top right of each circle, so I put more color there, and then I frame the rest of the circle with a very fine line, and finally I blend the purple with the pink using my finger towards the middle of the circle. I then do the exact same thing within the other 3 shapes of this design. And of course, where there is a shadow, there is a light. So I'm going to now place the highlights, and they are going to be at the exact opposite of my shadows, meaning at the bottom left of each shape. And using the color white, I am painting a sort of half circle over the pink and blending it with my finger towards the inside, not forgetting the little heart, of course, and in this case it will not be a half circle, but more of an arrow shape. Using now a gold face painting color, but you can use yellow if you don't have any gold. I am going to add the ornaments, or I guess I should say the support of this jewelry piece. The important thing here is to try to keep the thickness of your line pretty much identical throughout the whole process. But because my 2 small circles were not leveled, my design will look slightly asymmetrical, but I'm sure that you will not make the same mistake as I did, and yours will look a lot better. So the idea here is to make some nice swirls on each side of the big circle and frame each circle with a rather thick line, and make sure that the gold is quite visible. So if necessary, go over several times so that your gold color is quite strong. I then decided to add a pretty big conical shape in between the eyes, and also connect this centerpiece on each side of the face with a series of dots that start right next to the swirl and go all the way towards the top of each ear. At this point, I also connect the heart to the dots with a straight line that goes a little bit wider towards the bottom. I then draw a pointed shape over the larger circle, connect each smaller circle to the bigger one with a curved line, and connect each of these smaller circles to their hairline with, again here, a series of dots. And now onto the nose chain, and this is a detail that the girls love, and it really adds that Oriental touch to the design. It's quite simply a series of dots. Just make sure that they are very small and quite close together, but not touching. And also don't make them in a straight line going up, but rather in a curved line, sort of following the shape of the cheek. If you want to, you can absolutely stop at this point, but if you still have a little bit of time and want to take it one step further, I recommend adding also some lowlights and highlights to the gold piece, because it will make it stand out and give it incredible dimension as if it were a real piece of jewelry. So I am starting with the lowlights, and I'm still using my small round brush, but this time with a brown paint that I diluted with water so that it's not too strong and also easy to blend with the other color. I will not detail at this point every single line I'm doing because it would take forever and I don't want to bore you, but I will just give you this piece of information. When you apply shadows, it's important to think about where does the light source come from. In this case, if my light source is coming from the top, I want to apply the shadows always under a specific element. And also try to be very light-handed at this stage and apply very little color at a time, because it's always easier to build up and add more color to make it darker if necessary than to apply too much at once and take it away, because this can be very difficult and messy. If necessary, I blend with the tip of my finger right after applying the color because I want to go for a very soft and hardly noticeable effect. Moving on now to the highlights, and it's basically the same concept except reverse to the shadows, because the highlights reflect the light source and therefore they should be placed above a specific object or segment. I'm using obviously the color white on my small round brush, but here again I'm trying to be very light-handed on the tip of my brush and placing only very little paint each time, because I don't want it to look like there's snow or ice sitting on top of this jewelry. I just want it to look like a reflection of the light, so I'm being very careful and always trying to blend with the tip of my finger if I see that I applied a little bit too much. I decided while I still had this white paint on my brush to add a starburst on the biggest jewel. If you want to learn how to make those, feel free to click on the link appearing right now because I explained how to make those in another video. I also add tiny little dots at the top right hand corner of each jewel to give the impression that they're really shiny and bright, and a small starburst on the heart. After looking at my overall design, I decided that I wanted to have a little bit more contrast, so I grabbed the smallest round brush that I have, which is I think a number 1, and I went over the shadows to accentuate them a little bit. As you can see here, I'm not going over every single shadow, but just adding a little bit of black here and there to give more definition. And also my recommendation here again is to be extremely conservative with the black and add only a tiny little bit. Really grab the smallest amount of color on your brush and be very conservative, because it would be really a shame to add really thick black lines at this point, because it would overwhelm the design and pretty much ruin it. My model picked purple for lip color, but pink or a bright red would look great here as well. So I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day. Bye!